Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first of the one-on-one interviews on BT Sports. My name's Alex Samson, and my first guest will be probably one of the most known media personalities in our wrestling, the man who has made it famous, Jackson Steiner. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for asking. And it's great to be here, and I appreciate the interview. Thank you.
It's like the first of the kind for the interviews on this network because we do this rarely. We don't do this with everyone, so you can actually feel special. It's like one of the first times we do any interviews on voice chat. So this is gonna be
Well,
something special.
well, I appreciate it. And I mean, we did a lot of these on ROBLANIA, so I hope, me being here, having a little experience doing this takes a little bit of weight off your shoulders as well.
Let's hope so. Are you ready for 45 minutes of gruesome answer questions?
Oh, yeah, let's get right into it.
Also, before we begin, I would like to ask, is there anything taboo that you wouldn't want to discuss before we begin the interview?
um, nah, you can ask me whatever you want.
This was what I want to hear. Okay, so we're going to begin with a series of questions, easy ones to get this on tracks. First of all, how did your wrestling career begin?
So I think it probably started similar for everyone else. I mean, being a kid, you hop on Roblox because I don't know how everyone else found Roblox, but I'm pretty sure I found Roblox by just I don't know, probably watching some videos on YouTube and saw this and was like, hey, this looks fun. And then, once you get into Roblox, you start to find, oh, there's wrestling involved. And I started playing different wrestling games. I can't remember the names of the ones that were popular back then in like 2013, but I was just playing those for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then one time in 2015, if you remember, there was a game called WWE 2K15. It wasn't like anything like Vision's game does these days. Like the production is pretty shit compared to that, but that game was a lot of fun, and that the 2K15 game, I noticed a lot of different like promoters were coming and trying to find wrestlers. And one time that's kind of how I got into it because there was a promoter there talking about doing a show, and that's how I got my start into pro wrestling.
Let's also remember that it was 2015, so the production we have these days wasn't available back then.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't have like nearly uh half of the advanced like GUIs and stuff that we have. I mean, we did have like Trons and stuff, but they were very low quality.
Was there any sports, any different sport that you wanted to try besides our wrestling?
Um, Around like 2017, 2018, different pro wrestlers were trying to like reach out to like pro MMA and stuff, and that was getting a little popular. So I did try to. I mean, I'm not gonna say I was trying to get involved, but I did like tune into a few things, see what was happening, to see if it was something worth investing or pursuing. But I just mainly stuck with pro wrestling because I mean I mainly like wrestling.
Also, would like to ask you, for how long have you been going for wrestling?
So if we're talking like being an active pro wrestler,
Hmm.
I haven't invested any time into that in nearly like 4 years. But when it
Ooh, that's
comes
a long time.
when it comes to being like involved with the pro wrestling community, I haven't done really anything in about a year and a half.
That's also a long time. Cannot
Yeah, it's been a minute.
notice do that. Well, there has been many different alliances throughout the years. Obviously, RWA, which is still the biggest one in our wrestling, but others have followed, like UWA, RW, MWA, etc. Given that UWA and MWA are gone, RWA has reduced its shows all over again, and seemingly RWO is on rise all over again. The future's, of course, uncertain. Do you believe that making alliances even makes sense these days, or do you believe it's maybe a lost cause?
So whenever the RWA was getting really big, and especially when the NWA was around at the time, um, I do believe it was helping because feds like RCW and APRW were getting involved with the alliances, and sometimes they would bring in a very low level Fed, and that Fed would eventually get more popular because a lot of big names would start to go there, and their production value would go up because other developers from these other federations would come and work with these other smaller promotions. But as years went on, especially around 2020, like late 2020, the alliances they kind of went to shit, if I'm being honest, um, because it was instead of elevating everyone involved, it turned into a power trip behind the scenes where like they are constantly changing leadership now, and it wasn't sticking.
Let's remind
And
people that throughout the last 9 months, there have been like four lead executives with the RWA. Firstly, Chris Knight has resigned. Then came Ace. Following that was Mint and Tyken sharing the role. And finally landing with Raimundo approximately 2-3 months ago. But it was a constant power play throughout the entire process of the past 9 months.
involved. I don't remember who was running the show back then. Um, but there was the situation. You remember? Do you remember? Rated Julius. He had I forgot the name of his Fed, but you remember Julius?
Yes, I do. EWF, I believe.
Yes, it was EWF.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know if you remember the controversy behind what happened with the RWA and Julius, but it was just a power trip, and basically he wanted to take control of the RWA. I mean, he tried to create his own alliance. He tried to do this and that. I mean, nothing really stuck. But when all of that went about, Marlocks, if that was the owner at the time, I could be wrong. Um, he stepped down, and then Chris Knight stepped up, and I think everyone collectively chose Chris Knight because out of everyone in that staff for the RWA at the time, Chris Knight was the most level-headed, and I think he did a fantastic job running the RWA. And honestly, I think if he was still doing it now, the RWA would still be afloat. I mean, yes, there was issues under Chris Knight, but I mean, there's been issues under every owner of the RWA. So I mean, it's no surprise. Personally, if you want my honest opinion, I would like to see all alliances go away just to see what it would be like without alliances. I mean, it might actually be fun to see like federations try to actually fight for that number one spot instead of trying to work with each other. Like, I think that would be very interesting.
Let's also point out that there are a lot of big feds these days. Like every fed which is being hosted by pretty much known person is getting known as well. Let's say OPRW, which isn't on the scene for a couple of years. Well, 3 years, 4 years probably. And it has grown to become the number one federation in wrestling right now. And it wasn't in an alliance for a long time.
No, it was not.
So yeah, it just shows that a federation can't grow without an alliance.
Man, I want to say this about ATG and OPRW. I don't think I have met a single Fed owner who has been more dedicated to what they're doing than ATG. I mean, honestly he never gave up. He never did. I mean, there's been federations that will do this is our last show, like we're done after this, and then a couple months later they're like, we're coming back. This is our return show. ATG never did that. He always stuck by it. I mean, there were times where he would hop on Twitter and be like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do this anymore," but he never officially called it quits. And he always wanted to be in an alliance, and look at him now. He's killing it.
Well, OPRW is killing it for sure. OPRW Mania, which is in April, I believe, it looks up to be the biggest event of 2024. And for my personal dealing with ATG, he's a good dude. I mean, like, he's not hard to work with. He's very easy to work with and very easy to negotiate with. He knows what he's
Very
doing.
open minded. Very
Yeah,
open minded
very
guy.
open minded. He knows what he's doing.
I got a lot of respect for ATG and the guys that he works with. Um, OPRW was like the last federation that I worked with when it came to like doing stuff for shows and with like being on screen and whatnot. It was a like a little stint, maybe like 2 or 3 months. I remember I was like managing people and I was doing my own thing, but I wasn't like wrestling or anything myself. But I had a fun time working with ATG and OPRW. It was fun, and I'm very proud of them.
I would also want to point out that OPRW Mania is going to be broadcasted on this very network. We have reached an agreement like a couple of weeks ago, so
Well,
it's gonna be a big
congratulations to
deal.
you on that.
Thank you very much. I didn't want to brag or anything like that, but I needed to point out you need to check it out. This is gonna be an
Trust
amazing
me,
show.
trust me. Don't ever think you're bragging or whatnot. I mean, if you think you've earned it, then go for it, man. I mean, congrats, you earned it.
Let's hope it will be good. Let's talk about ROBLANIA for a minute, because that's what you're really known for in this community. First of all, how long exactly have you been involved in ROBLANIA?
So I guess I've always kind of been involved ever since I'm at A's. Really, I've always been involved. Um, oh shit, I can't remember when I met A's. Um, I think I met A's in 2019. I think I remember whenever I was working with A's. A's was I don't remember the name of the federation. It wasn't his federation, or maybe it was, but he there was a fed going on, and he was working with it, and I did a little bit with them, and then they ended the fed, and then pretty sure A's started doing his RWI federation again, and that's when I started having a few matches for him, doing stuff on behind the scenes, being a manager on TV. I mean, it was fun working with A's, um, with like the row wrestling stuff. Whenever I got involved with the channel, the YouTube and stuff, that was around the time where A's was starting to slow down a little bit on row. He wasn't slowing down on row wrestling. He was branching out more because he wanted to have more exposure on his row wrestling. And at the time, there was media, but nobody was really doing like full on media like YouTube. And to the extent that A's was making and creating, around I want to say late 2020 or mid 2020, we started doing the Steiner section, and and honestly, 2020, I I'm gonna get off track here for a second, but 2020, it was a bad year for row wrestling, but at the same time, it was a really interesting year because COVID was happening and lockdown was going on, and everyone was stuck at home. So, what did everyone do? Everyone row wrestled, and I think that brought a lot more people to the community, and that also at the same time, uh, kind of killed the community a little bit. But yeah, that's a sidebar. We'll probably get into that later. But for the Steiner section, that was something A's brought to me, saying that he wanted to do a show and asked me if I wanted to do it.
So
And
Ace is the one who created it.
yes.
Mhm.
Um and then for the first episode, I wrote this well, oh no, I didn't write the script. He basically he wrote the first couple of scripts for the show, and then he started to do more with the media and asked if I could script. So I started, like, as the show went on, like I would record my lines that I did, send them to him. If he ever like needed something to be revised or something, he would be like, "Hey, you want to change this?" And yeah. But I remember for like the first two episodes of the Steiner section, we actually there was Origin CA was doing a football league at the time called the RWFL. It was mainly filled with pro wrestlers just doing Roblox football. And for like the first two episodes of the Steiner section, we kind of covered what they were doing, just because we at the time for what I at least I saw for the Steiner section, I didn't want it to be just Row Wrestling. I wanted us to be able to reach out so we can reach more viewers than just Row Wrestling and more throughout Roblox sports, which that didn't really happen because I mean, yeah, I just stuck with Row Wrestling, but I mean, it was an idea, and I think it would have worked if I stuck with it more.
I have never heard this story actually. It's the first time I have heard it. I never seen the first two episodes of Sinus Sections. You've actually spoiled it for me. Thank you very much, by the way. Next thing is, what do you think about Roblania going to different markets like music? They have created two Spider-Man movies. There could be something more coming up. Like, do you think it could be a first sign of overexposure? Because as we've seen recently, numbers are slightly, but they are down. Slightly, but down. Could it be overexposure? Or do you think there will be perfectly fine with it?
So I I cannot speak for A's because I am not A's, and I've said this time and time again, and I'm going to say it again. A's is the big of Roblania. I am like maybe 5% of everything that goes on there, or probably most likely less than that. A's he's the he's the game warden. He's the guy in charge. He does everything, and Roblania's Spider-Man was mainly all him, besides voice acting. But I don't want to say that Roblania has been overexposed, but with with the numbers declining, I think that's also because A's interest in what he's doing with Roblania has also declined. And that's not a bad thing. Maybe he's probably taken more focus with his real life, his personal life. And trust me, that is a great thing to do. But I think with Roblania and what happened there, um, he doesn't focus that much on creating real wrestling content anymore, which I can tell. Mainly what's going on with Roblania, at least as far as I can see, is people still come up to him asking if he will create a theme song for them, and he creates a song for them, and at the same time he puts it on the channel. So I don't. It kind of sucks to say it, but right now it kind of feels like Roblania is more of a Row Wrestling themes channel. But I mean that's not a bad thing, and that also gives the other media's opportunity to grow and shine more, which is a great thing. And but overall, I don't want to say overexposure is the reason for the numbers declining. I think it's just because the interest declined from the creator.
Do you think Roblania could, in a couple of years, relinquish the spot as the number one in wrestling media? I mean, they rarely make any reports these days. They broadcast less and less events, which could possibly be the reason. The reason being Ace's declining interest. Do you think that they could not be number one media in our wrestling in the next year or two?
I mean, it's hard for me to say what's what would be the number one in the next 2 years because I haven't been involved with Road Wrestling in almost 2 years. So at least for Roblania, and in my personal opinion, it doesn't feel like there really is a number one media right now. But I will say no one did media like Roblania when it comes to
Well, that's
creating
true.
on YouTube. Um,
That's true.
I think we could have done more with Twitter. I genuinely think our Twitter was really disappoint. The Twitter was disappointing. And if A's would have appointed someone to run the Twitter and like make stuff for Twitter, I think Twitter would have gotten the YouTube even more numbers. I I don't think Roblania will still be around 2 years from now because A's just he doesn't have that the same passion as everyone else does when it comes to media, and that's why you probably see like less and less content. It's not because he just doesn't like it. He's just not as passionate about it as other people.
Do you think, in your opinion, if Ace would dedicate himself again, Roblania could return to its old glory?
Oh, 100% guaranteed.
If you would have to point
Really,
out, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I, d- I just small part. If A's is surrounded by a good group of people who are not telling him just what he wants to hear and they're giving him quality feedback, yes, he can be number one.
If you have to point out the one key moment which led to Roblania becoming what many describe as the greatest wrestling media ever, what that moment would be?
So I think with whenever A's started doing the last federation that A's was doing was UWI. And what I really loved about what he did with UWI was whenever he first started doing it, he was doing a lot of promo material for the new wrestlers that were coming in. Like we had this one, his name was Carlito, and we had and A's did a phenomenal promo video for him. Like like it was insane. Like the production was great, and it's one of actually our most viewed videos on the channel is that promo. And it just sucks too because the wrestler that who got that thing, he barely showed up to any of the shows. I think out of UWI's whole like 12 or 13-week run, he only showed up to like one show. Like it was terrible. But if you want to like if I were to pinpoint a moment where we were starting to get bigger, it was definitely the promos that he was doing for UWI because those got insane numbers and it's just the quality of the production was really there. If you look back in retrospect at the Fed UWI, I don't know if you ever attended any of those shows. That had the potential. That was one of the most high quality production based pro wrestling shows to attend. I mean, where the fuck else are you going to see wrestling ropes that the ring ropes that move? To be fair, I mean it was very glitchy and it fucked with the matches, so which is why we I'm pretty sure you cut it out. But
Let's talk about KiriCali, probably the biggest raw sports media ever. He's now almost gone from the community entirely. He's now recording only Sam as WWE. Do you believe any media in pro wrestling can even reach the 1/10 of the empire he's built?
man, KiriCali is awesome, bro. I don't I love KiriCali. He is I all right, I've had my issues with like obviously the people he's worked with, but KiriCali, like he is a very like likable guy. We did an interview with Kiri for the ROBLANIA channel, and he was so kind, so great. I think if if media wants to reach the heights that Kiri did, Hmm. they got to put a lot of focus into um how they stream and what their stream looks like. Because I think a big part of Kiri and how he blew up was just how his streams looked. Like when he would go live, it felt like I was watching like an actual like a real Twitch stream from like a real Twitch streamer. Like he seemed like he was more experienced with streaming than role wrestling and anything that had to do with Roblox. So I think if anyone really wants to like reach that height, they got to put their full focus into that.
Scandals in pro wrestling are happening constantly. We've recently had Raiden, one of the pretty rising up pro wrestlers, being exposed as the child porn distributor. We can also forget about people being stripped of titles for alleged cheating and people faking their debts, etc. Do you think these scandals will ever stop?
No, they're not gonna stop. I mean, it's
Why not?
like 2 or 3 years. We've been saying, man, it's just gonna stop for like 5 years almost. I mean, it's wishful thinking to think that the scandals are gonna stop because people are just shitty. And I hate to say this, because I know Row Wrestling is filled with a lot of youngsters. I mean, the newer generation, I mean, it's getting a little rotten, and like everybody got a little bad attitude.
Do you believe, because of these scandals, that it is still worth to even join a wrestling?
Stay out of scandals, and yeah, just don't be a pedo or a cheater, and you're good. Oh, and don't be a racist too. That too.
Oh yeah, we failed to mention it, but it's a rising problem, especially these days.
Yeah, it's very easy to be racist, so don't do it.
Yeah. Do
I
you
haven't seen it. I
believe?
don't know.
Oh
I
yeah,
haven't seen a twit. I haven't seen a twit longer in a while. Now that I think about it, do people just like air people out differently now?
Tweet longer is actually gone.
Oh, really?
The
So how
site
do?
is gone. Yeah,
I did not know that. It's kind of sad.
yeah, it's gone for like 10 months now.
Shameful.
Yeah, ever
So
since Musk taken over.
how do people how do people get exposed now? What is it? Just like a Twitter blue?
Yeah.
You know? Okay.
Do you believe, in your honest opinion, that this community is actually doomed to collapse due to all of these accusations, racism, sex scandals, etc., coming out?
Um, I think. All right. Personally, I think the death of Road Wrestling would come if just no, if not a single like decent developer is in the community. Which I don't think there will ever be a point where there's going to be a developer who's where there's not a single decent developer in the community, because there's always people developing and they're teaching other like their friends how to dev and whatnot, and like write scripts. I think the only way Road Wrestling truly dies is if there's no decent production. Because if the production dies, then I think we're falling backwards when it comes to like, yeah, this is just sword fighting now.
Do you believe that this community can be saved from toxicity, or is it doomed to become like the shithole of Roblox?
So I don't. It's kind of hard to call Road Wrestling the biggest shithole in all of Roblox because I mean, there's hundreds of communities in Roblox, and I think we've there's probably so many that we haven't even like seen. And Roblox is available, I think, probably all over the world anyway. So, I mean, there's crazy amounts of people who are creating their own communities, and they probably are 10 times worse than Road Wrestling. Um, I think Road Wrestling is it can definitely come back from the toxicity. It just all depends on, people being good people and just stop being such assholes.
What can fan owners realistically do to stop the threats, I'm sorry, from getting toxic? Are there any real options or tools which fan owners can use to prevent toxicity from coming to their fans?
Um, I think, yeah, actually, I think being a great Fed owner in terms of being a good leader, um, that will definitely help you get on the right track of keeping your Fed less toxic. I mean, look at I'm gonna use Chris Knight as an example, and his federation. Um, Whenever I would ever go to one of his shows or look through his Discord, that was one of the least toxic places I've ever seen. And I think a good reason for that is because Chris Knight is one of the most nicest people I've ever met in the community. I mean, if he's got a bad thing to say about you, it's because you've probably done a bad thing. Um, Chris Knight is just that guy. And if you are a great leader like Chris Knight, I don't think you're going to have as much toxicity as you think you're going to have. It all depends on being a great leader and being a nice leader too, and stern when you have to be.
I wanted to ask a question about what could lead to an exodus from pro wrestling, but you've actually obviously answered it. So we're gonna move on. Moving on to the next topic. Do you know what WWE on Roblox is?
So, is this the same WWE that Luke Cena was doing back in like 5 years ago, and then Sama took over? Is this the same WWE we're talking
No,
about?
no, 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 no. It's like a person, Mr. McMahon, WWE, the
Oh,
animated one.
oh, we're talking about that one.
Yeah, we're talking
Yes,
about that one.
yeah. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
I wanted to ask
Yo,
about your opinion, but probably you're
yo,
saying it right now.
yo. I've heard his name come up recently on Twitter. I've been seeing it pop up. What's going on with that guy? I need you to fill me in. Is he out? Is he gone? Is he gone?
No, he's not really gone.
Ah, fuck.
Well, basically, recently there has been another backlash hitting the fair. They've purchased a clean fair called BWE. Uh, they have been
They
banning
bought
people which
BWE.
were saying bad opinions about them. Do you believe that Vince, or more likely Zeon, because that's what his name is, let's call him that, let's be real. Uh,
Xeon.
Zeon, yeah. His name
What
is Zeon, yeah. What is your opinion about that guy?
the
We're shooting here.
Man, do I need to say it? I mean, I'm I probably got the same opinion as everyone else. Fuck that guy. He sucks. I
This
mean,
is
he's a.
off. This is not off limits. Go
I
ahead.
have I have never I've never in my life seen someone in our space who has been. God, the ego on that kid was insane. Like, dude, him naming himself Vince McMahon is literally like genius. Like, if he's not the only thing he's probably not doing that Vince has the real life Vince McMahon has never done is probably fucked with women. For God, we as long for all we know, shit,
Oh gosh, that's
dude,
actually true.
fuck that guy. I really don't care.
I also
I'm
would like
like,
to. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, whenever before he started to come out as like an asshole. Well, I mean, he was always truly an asshole. But when it started to like get like more known on Twitter and it started to get out there that he was a big asshole, like his like the shit he was doing, I'm not gonna lie, it actually seemed a little bit interesting because the production value that he was putting into his WWE, it actually it was crazy. Like they were doing like YouTube and stuff and the streams. And one time I watched I tuned into one of their shows one time just to see how it was. And dude, I've never seen anything like that in pro wrestling. Like they had a whole intro, like different camera angles, and like the pacing as well was, God, it was phenomenal in terms of how it's compared to other federations when it comes to pacing their shows. But besides that, if Mr. McMahon, if Zion, fucking whatever, if he if he went to church, he would have been great. Would have been
Also,
phenomenal.
Vince has also said recently that the next event from WWE On Roblox will be even bigger than OPRW Mania. Just would like to
Wow.
give it a perspective of that one.
Well, I mean, he's always talked shit. I mean, everyone talks shit. I mean, he has the right to talk shit. But I mean, if it's bigger than OPRW Mania, then so be it. But I mean, ATG, he can definitely fill up that motherfucker. Didn't he just have a show?
Yeah,
I
he did the Royal Rumble, 150
OPRW,
people Royal Rumble match.
the second highest attended pro wrestling event in history.
Yeah, 150 people were in a Royal Rumble match, which is just crazy because it could have been like, wasn't it like the only match on the card?
I really hope it was because wasn't that show 8 hours long?
Oh my gosh. I mean, 150 people in the Royal Rumble match, like 3 hours is minimum.
Dude,
My
I'm
goodness.
sorry. I'm sorry. No matter, I love ATG to death, and I will say this to him in private too. Like, if you, no matter how old you are, 8 hour wrestling Roblox wrestling show is just it's abnormal. It really is.
Oh my god. I mean, it has been a long event, let me tell you. Uh, Vince is also known for using the tactics of purchasing federations, which were prospering. They've purchased AW like 2 years ago. They've recently purchased BWE as well, uh, only to shut down AW and to attempt a takeover on BWE, which was stopped by the clearance community. Do you think the practices of Vince are fair at all?
First, I just want to say, like, does this kid have a fucking trust fund? How the fuck is he putting so much money into Roblox where he is paying the not just his devs, he's also paying his fucking role wrestlers to role wrestle. Like I don't know if he still does that, but I remember he was doing
He
that at one point.
does. He does.
Dude, he's got to have a trust fund because there's no way in hell that his Roblox wrestling show is generating that much revenue to where he is able to pay his devs and all of his wrestlers.
Let me just
And
remind you that recently, according to a report which was made by the Rio Roblox, one staff member, uh, Fireboy, I believe his name is called, Rufus, he has invested like 73K in Robux, something like that. I
we're
would need to
talking
check the
about
server.
hold on, you're talking about Robux, right?
Yeah,
Okay, you're
Tuesday
not
on
all right.
Robux. Hold
Okay,
on, let me
because
just
like,
get the report here.
man,
Um, where the hell is it now? Has it
don't tell me
refreshed?
this. Don't tell me this guy is posting like financial reports on his business.
He is. He
You're
actually
fucking
is.
kidding me. You're
He
fucking
is.
kidding me.
He
Oh my
truly
gosh.
is.
Okay, so all right, so your question was, do I think the tactics are shady or whatever?
Yeah,
Um, first of all, what he's doing is exactly what Vince McMahon did. He bought out all the wrestlers from all the territories, and all the territories died. It's very similar to what the Zion's doing, but do I think it's shady? If if he's just buying them and they're dying right after, then yeah, it's kind of fucked up because he's doing exactly what Vince McMahon did, and he's monopolizing our community.
that was actually the question I wanted to ask, but I'm gonna get to it later. I've actually found a company update with the contribution quoting of 73,000 Robux during the Royal Rumble weekend itself. Let me just quote it here. Good evening. Thank you to our board member Rufus for contributing over 73,000 Robux during the Royal Rumble weekend. As of the standing, by the end of the week, we will have 115,000 Robux in our group funds. End of quote.
So is he selling tickets to attend the show as well?
I believe so. However, I'm not so sure. I wasn't the events for some time.
So look, I there's really no way in hell that he's generating that much revenue. I don't see it. Um, there's got to be like they got to be bringing in money from I don't know some trust fund they got from from their parents because it's insane how much money they have put into a Roblox game that will not be around 10 years from now.
Let's also remind people that WWE On Roblox is paying people dollars for working there as well. For example, the person, the WWE owner, Mike Creed, which has sold his Fed recently, he's taking like $20, $30, maybe more. I'm not so sure right now. I would need to check it, but
What, like
right
a
off the
week?
bat, yeah, according to what I know, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's just insane to think about. So I wanted to ask a question about, is the Federation trying to get a monopoly on our wrestling?
Man. So it's so bad because there's the only way they're generating that I want to see the fucking I want to see like screenshots of like the numbers on their merchandise, like how much they're selling because they're
Well, they
the
are
only way
making budget reports, so it could be that.
yeah. Send me the link to those after we finish this. I want to see those.
Okay.
But but I the only way um if all right, so if he the only way he's paying these people is out of pocket and he's not making any money, then it's such a bad idea because obviously it's going to come to an end at some point because no way he's going to keep being on keep row wrestling going till he's 30. There's no way in hell. Like if he does, then that's sad, and I'm calling CPS because he does not need to be playing with children.
Oh goodness. Uh, what do you think about the current feds in our wrestling? Because if you will, if you could name top five feds right now, what would they be?
I
If you know
can't.
any, of course.
I could not give you a top five because I have not seen any row wrestling that has been going on as of late. However, I from what at least from what I see on Twitter, it looks like ATG and OPRW is number one.
Well, yeah, I believe everyone could agree with that.
Um,
Okay, another question. Let's move on. Do you believe buying off different feds is a good idea in our wrestling? There was this group named TKO Roblox, which has recently bought EEW for 500. Sorry, $500. Yes,
no,
$500.
no, no, no,
Yes,
no. Okay, no, no,
that's what has been reported. $500. Like,
dude, like
it's absurd.
this is this is stressful.
It's very stressful. It's all absurd as well. Uh, but do you think buying off different feds is a good idea in our wrestling these days or not?
No, because he's gonna run out of money eventually. Like I don't see how I it's really hard to see how Road Wrestling and at least his company or quote unquote company is generating any actual revenue. Like I just
Hmm.
do not see it. I really don't. So there's no, I don't think it's a good idea.
What do you think a indie fed should do to get to the mainstream? If you could actually give advice to an indie fed which seeks to get to the mainstream, to get big numbers, what would that advice be?
So um I'm gonna be 100% honest. Like This is probably the not the moral way of doing things, but I mean, a lot of dick sucking in this community can get you far. Like a lot of dick sucking, and I don't mean like like that weird shit. I'm talking like you guys probably know what I mean. It's kind of hard to explain it, but um, the only way these indies are going to like actually reach out to people and get quote unquote mainstream, I think working with medias is a big one. I think um, giving medias like exclusive stories to work on, that is also a big one. That's one thing I liked with I hated it at the same time because I just disliked them. But I liked how WWE and Sama like they would tease stuff with their medias, and I think that played a big role in their numbers also gaining. So I think working with medias is a big one. Um, I talked about it earlier, being a great leader, um, keeping your roster in check. That is a great one, and your staff. Um, and just be kind. Yeah, that's really it. Like, and it's kind of I don't want to say all production, but a good amount of production comes a long way. You don't have to go over the top to where your whole arena is laggy for everyone, but just try and keep your quality of your shows to a standard. Just keep it at the bar and try not to raise the bar anymore because if you start to raise the bar past your limits, that's that's where that's where failure starts to come, in my opinion.
We've talked about the federations. Now let's talk about an indie era wrestler, which seeks to get to the big leagues. What advice would you give to him or her?
Um, so at least I'm gonna use real IRL pro wrestling as an example to really make. All right. So I'm gonna speak through the lens of actual wrestling for a second. To really, in my opinion, the only way to make it in wrestling these days is you got to be a killer. Like, look at guys like Swerve Strickland. Like, this motherfucker broke into Hangman's house and was talking to his newborn child, like, and put a T-shirt over him. Like that shit is insane. And also, a big part of someone getting traction is they have to be booked properly. Like it's not just about how you will wrestle; it is also how you are booked. You need to have promo time and fuck. I promos in pro wrestling they've gotten they can be bad. Like especially if you type really fucking slow. Like try to have some copy and pasting ready. But I think you got to get booked properly. If you know you are great and you don't think you are being elevated to the point where you think you should be, I would definitely go to a Fed owner and be like, I really think I'm worth more and you need to give me a shot or I'm going somewhere else. I think betting on yourself is a big part of making it, so to speak. And also, like I said, you got to be a killer. Like you got to be ruthless to really make it.
We've talked about feds, we've talked about wrestlers. Let's talk about something else. What, in your opinion, is the art of the deal? Like, what do you think is the biggest key in negotiating partnerships with different groups and federations?
I think so. When you start discussions with another Fed owner or an alliance, I think right off the bat, you guys need to um, set the terms of how is this going to benefit both parties, and how can we make sure that it doesn't become a one-sided partnership. That has to be a big thing. And also, you need to vet the people that you're working with in terms of you need to make sure that they're not a shitty person and they don't do bad business dealings behind the scenes. You just need to make sure you're working with the right people. And when those conversations start, set boundaries and set the terms and find out how it's going to benefit both parties at the same time.
And with that, we go to the fast questions. These questions will be fast, so answer yes or no. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's get it on. If I could come back to Roblania, I would take it over and grow it back to the top of all sports. Yes or no?
No.
I wish I have never left Pro Wrestling. Yes or no?
No.
I caught you off guard with that one. Pro Wrestling fans and media use social media in a wrong way. Yes or no?
What was the question? Do
Pro
they use
Wrestling fans and media use social media in a wrong way. Yes or no?
sometimes? That's my answer.
Okay. If I was offered a lot of money, I would still not work in another federation or media again. I would not sell out. Yes or no?
They have to give me a lot of money and I have to work really less.
If I
Only way I
could
come
go
back.
back in time, I wish I would have done more in Roblania. Yes or no?
Yes.
I believe RWA should be closed down or completely changed from upside down. Yes or no?
Oh, big fat yeah.
At least we agree on something. A federation which wants to get to the mainstream needs to invest dollars so we can pay people and get more people on board. Yes or no?
Nah, nah. No, no.
LA9, yeah. I wish I would have spent more time with my family rather than on that stupid platform named Roblox. Yes or no?
Fuck, man. Uh,
Gotcha.
oh, I'm about to start crying. Opened up a wound. No, no. I mean, fuck, bro. I mean, honestly, I think everyone should have gotten off this fucking game and spent some time with their family. So yeah.
Okay, let's move on. I've actually checked the recording. 54 minutes. I mean, that's a lot.
Man,
Yeah. You want to go on?
it's been a it's been a fun. I mean, if you got more to go on, I mean, sure.
Well, I've got many questions we can go on.
I mean, we can keep going. I mean, you can edit this in post too. You know,
Well,
probably
actually, we're
remove.
gonna split into two parts. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Part
Why
one and
not? Let's
part
do it.
two. We can
Let's
continue
do
on.
it.
Will you
If you
ever
got
come
more for me,
back?
go ahead.
Oh yeah, let's go. Will you ever come back to Euro Wrestling or to any media? And if yes, what has to be done for you to join it?
So as I get older, obviously, this Roblox thing just seems so silly. And um, if I were to come back, the only way I would come back is if I do not have to join Roblox. Like I do not have to attend a single show. Like that is the only way I come back. And I truly, I don't think I will. I'm 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 enjoying my time gone from this community because I think it was really hurting my mental. So truly, I don't think I would come back. But if I were approached with an offer, I mean, I would read it and I would maybe think about it, but it would most likely be a no.
Well, to point out to people, I have actually tried to reach out to you for working for BT Sports, but you didn't take it. Actually, no bad read at all. I mean, like, everyone
Yeah,
has their priorities.
I'm sorry. I do have to. I do apologize for that. I just, I
I
kind
mean,
of.
no bad read. I mean, like, it isn't about it. Everyone has their priorities in a different
But
way these days.
trust me, you're not the only person that's approached me in like the last 2 years to do something. Like, there's probably been maybe two or three different people that have hit me up and be like, "Hey, we're starting this Fed or we're starting this media. You want to do this?" Man, I I still get texts. I still get people hitting me up on Discord, be like, "Hey, put me on the Steiner section, brother." That ended 3 years ago.
Oh gosh, I mean, it isn't on for like 2 years now. Oh gosh. I mean,
Man,
it's
really?
fascinating. It just proves how popular you are in the wrestling.
Yeah, I guess. Um, the last thing I did for Roblania was actually Roblania's Spider-Man. Look, if
Ooh.
you guys haven't seen Roblania's Spider-Man, check that out. That is just fucking phenomenal work from Ace.
Yeah, we
What
can
a
vouch
guy.
for that one. That was a masterpiece.
It's like I'm pretty sure it has over 20,000 views on Twitter as well. I mean, on YouTube as
Yeah,
well.
it does. It does. I will need to check the exact number. I'm actually gonna do it right now.
But
Wow, you can speak about it. I'm gonna check it.
so when I did the movie with Roblania, it was very fun to do. Um, at when we first started the movie, it was going to be completely different when it comes to who was voice acting who. Um, for the movie, uh, A's he not only did he make the movie, he also voice acted for Peter Parker. Um, Originally, it was going to be Sean Poth, but Sean had some real life issues at the time, and it wasn't going to work with him as the lead because of how little he was going to be available. But and also, I have a character in the. There is a Jackson Steiner character in the movie. However, I am not voice acting for that. I was going to, but APA actually took the role of that because I was approached a little bit after Sean left by A's. He was like, um, he told me he was like, "You're probably not gonna like this conversation," and I didn't at the time. But basically, um, he wanted APA to take the role because APA had experience with voice acting because that's something I don't know if he still does, but that's something he wanted to pursue was voice acting, something around that, like in real life. And what I mean by that, and so APA took over the role, and I voice acted for J. Jonah Jameson. And personally, I I'm actually happier with the role of J. Jonah because that was uh, less lines, so less work for me. Instead of being like the third lead in the movie, I enjoyed my role. And if Ace does proceed with Roblania's Spider-Man 2, I will again be J. Jonah Jameson. I'm pretty sure I actually have recorded lines already for the movie.
Well, I believe the second one was already posted, but I'm not so sure. I have actually checked the numbers.
Uh,
23,000 views on YouTube and
that's crazy.
15.9 thousand views on Twitter. That's just
That
insane.
that's crazy, man.
For a Roblox media, that's numbers probably never seen before. Like
We
besides
we
KiriCali, maybe.
we reached a market that we didn't just
Indeed.
reach out to Row Wrestling. We also reached the movie community of Row Wrestling. And what I mean by that is, I hope A's doesn't get mad at me for bringing this up, but a couple months ago, or maybe about a year ago, Ace told me that he got approached by someone who was making like they were making a Roblox Spider-Man movie, and what they wanted to do with the movie was basically have all these different Spider-Men come in, kind of like into the like the multiverse Spider-Man with the three Spider-Man movie. like they were trying to do something like that, and they wanted to use the Peter Parker from Roblania's universe. I don't think they're doing that anymore though. But I mean, um, we reached far from pro wrestling. Like we definitely did, and you can tell just based off the
Yeah,
numbers.
numbers like that are just insane for Roblox media. Never seen before besides KiriCali. Would like to ask you, how did your family firstly react to you spending so much time on Roblox?
Mm. So, uh, you know, it was funny. I mean, they'd be like, "Yo, what are you playing?" And I'm like, "I'm playing Roblox." He's like, "What's Roblox?" And I'll be like, don't ask." That was about it.
It's better off that you don't ask me, yeah?
Yeah, they didn't need to know, I was getting called the N word every other week.
Oh gosh. How much time did you actually spend here? Like, it should have been a couple of
um,
years. Multiple.
I mean, I spent a lot of time in road wrestling. I mean, shit for a while, like Roblox and road wrestling was like the only game I was playing because at the time I was surrounded by a fun group of friends and I was having fun. And really and truly, that's all I ever cared about in road wrestling was having fun. I didn't care about training or getting better at my swinging or what's my FPS or this and that. I really didn't care. I was more focused on having fun, and that's why like I was more interested in in storylines in road wrestling and like creating the story. Like my last real quote unquote storyline, I guess, was I did something with A's in OPRW where uh like I was the general manager at the time of a show, and A's was not only wrestling from time to time, but he was also the manager for another wrestler that was on the roster. And we were doing this like storyline where like A's was trying to like power trip me and everything. And when we were doing stuff on TV, I had way more fun doing that than the actual match at the pay per view. Because I mean, yeah, I lost because I mean I'm fucking trash at road wrestling, but to me, I had way more fun doing the story and just getting to not just do the story. I mean, I was doing the story with my best friend in the community.
I have checked the time. 1 hour 4 minutes we have been speaking here. Like, I don't know when it has passed. I mean, it's a long time.
Where does time
1 hour
go?
speaking nonstop. I mean, it's just so long. I don't know when it has passed. I didn't notice it. Well, folks, everything that is good has to end somehow. This is the end of part one. We are going to record part two. Be sure to subscribe because this is not the final interview you're gonna see with a good person in a wrestling community. But as for today, I'm Alex Samson. This was Jackson Steiner.